Good morning. I am Dr. Arthur Sothamos. I am the president of the Homeopathic Academy, situated in Greece. And this is the fifth lesson of the series of lessons conducted by Homeopathic Academy as a free e-learning project in collaboration with Homeopathy Data Bank and the Marathon International Summer School of Classical Homeopathy. In the previous lesson, we have talked about the psoric miasm and the typical representative of the psoric miasm, that is Natrum muriaticum. In the previous lessons, we have also talked about how miasms were originated, how Hahnemann discovered miasms, and we have talked about the characteristics of the psoric miasm, which is the opposite of the characteristics of the psychotic miasm that we are going to talk about today. The typical representative of psychotic miasm, according to my opinion, is Medorrhinum. Let me remind you again of the characteristics of the psychotic miasm. I will do that in comparison with the psoric miasm because these things go together. They are opposite yet complementary. The psoric miasm, or yin, the psychotic miasm, or yang, according to the theory of acupuncture. The psoric miasm as concerning principles and general tendency adopts principles, moral principles, and is attached to these principles. He cannot get over them easily. He feels guilty if he doesn't act according to these moral principles, either religious, political, philosophical, and so on, moral principles. He is strict about it, and many times this suppresses him and makes him find difficulty in becoming joyful. And many times it makes its life difficult. While the psychotic miasm has the tendency to joy, to enjoyment, not to joy, to enjoyment. His main interest is to enjoy life, to squeeze life and suck all the juices of life. So he doesn't care much about principles. Not that he is immoral, but he doesn't understand well these kind of things because he is a more a physical type than a mental type. he's not so sophisticated in mind, and he doesn't care about deep philosophical or religious or political ideas. He's more the guy of let's do this, let's have fun. So there is not a lack of principles, but he's not interested in principles. What about the thought of the psoric and the psychotic individual? When we come to thinking, we have the psoric type has thoughts that are very well organized, deep thought, organized, well organized, and most of the times slow thinking. While the psychotic miasm concerning thoughts has superficial thoughts, not so well organized, changeable, and fast, and he gets tired easily thinking. It's not his field, his area of expertise. When we come to emotions, let me remind you something, that whenever we talk about symptoms or characteristics, constitutional symptoms or constitutional characteristics, or when we talk about miasmatic characteristics, we always refer to imbalances, not to, let's say, positive things. We are always talking about negative traits. When we say that the psoric miasm tends to adopt principles, we mean that he tends to adopt principles strictly, in a fixed way, not normally. We're not talking about a positive trait of a person that is an ideologist. That is, we're not talking about a balanced person. And that's why disorder and disease, illness can come out of these traits. In the same way, when we talk that a psychotic person has the tendency for enjoyment, to have fun, we don't mean a balanced state, a person who is joyful. We talk about a person that has the tendency for imbalance in the field, for abusion. He tends to drink a lot, and gets drunk, to eat a lot and gets stuffed, and so on. So we are talking about imbalance all the time, either if we speak about miasmatic characteristics or if we speak about constitutional characteristics or constitutional symptoms. If we go to emotions, then the psoric emotions are deep, they are stable, and the psoric person doesn't express it easily. In the case of the psychotic individual, we talk about superficial emotions, changeable emotions, intense emotions, and straight expression. Is more spontaneous, straight expression. What you see is what you get most of the times. And when we go to behavior, we have a behavior that is mostly reserved, introvert, maybe shy, or a little coward. And most of the times he is kind and tend to adopt standards of good behavior. When you come to psychotic miasm, you've got a behavior that has to do a straight behavior, a behavior that may be intense and changeable, and when we come to the physical symptoms, to the body, then we have in the psoric person that he is cold, that he mainly has hypofunction, his functions are slowed down, and bad nutrition and underdevelopment. We have shrinking, we have emaciation. When we go to the psychotic characteristics, we talk about heat, hyperfunction, quick function, and changeable. And we've got the tendency for tumors, not cancer, I mean growth of cells, like warts, like myomas, like thick warts, like hypertrophy. We would got hypertrophy. The correct thing is to say that we don't have tumors, we have the tendency for hypertrophy. And here we got tendency for atrophy. So these are the opposite and complementary characteristics of the psoric miasm and the psychotic miasm. It's time to talk about Medorrhinum, the typical representative of the psychotic miasm. And I say typical because Medorrhinum is psychotic all the way through. The scheme of description and analyzing of the characteristics of any constitution, chronic constitution, in the classical miasmatic constitutional homeopathy is that we tend to describe constitutions according to the homeopathic laws and according to holistic thinking. So, our aim, as I have said in the past lesson, in the previous lesson, our aim is not to give you a list of keynotes or characteristics that cannot be bound together. We have to talk about the whole, yet we have to talk about it in a hierarchical way. We have to give the essence, the main core, the main idea, the center of, or the skeleton of the foundation of the constitution, and from that essence come out all the peripheral fields, all the characteristics from all the fields. So my aim is first to give you the essence, because if you know in your heart and mind the essence of a certain constitution, you can remember it, you can have it in your mind, because from that center you can talk about this constitution for hours and can describe what tendency, how will a certain person influenced by this constitution, how can he act in all kinds of states. As I have said before in the past lesson, you know your father, your mother, your child, your close friends, so you can predict quite accurately how will they react in this and that event. In the same way, being a homeopathic doctor, if you know the essence of the main chronic constitutions, you can by taking the case, when you take the homeopathic history, you can compare the picture of the person, of the patient that you have in front of you, with the pictures from the proving, the pictures of the essence that you have in your mind, and prescribe with full similarity. That is our aim in classical miasmatic constitutional homeopathy. We don't do repertorizing, we don't do keynote prescribing, we don't do computer expert systems. We don't need it. And these three methods that have prevailed in current homeopathic practice are the mechanical way of prescribing. And most of the times they lead you to so-called homeopathic remedies that are not really homeopathic remedies, since they are mostly proving pictures that do not have a similar corresponding natural illness, chronic or acute. Or if you prescribe a homeopathic remedy by these methods, the tendency is to choose not well-proven chronic polycrest idiosyncrasies, but to prescribe acute constitutions, to prescribe acute constitutions that don't have the full similarity that you find in chronic constitutions. Our aim is chronic prescription. Our aim is chronic constitutions. Our aim is chronic illnesses, not acute illnesses. So let's go and describe the Medorrhinum chronic constitution. What's its essence? It is very easy to talk about it because the essence of Medorrhinum is the psychotic miasm. We have already talked about it. We have said that Medorrhinum is the typical representative of the psychotic miasm. What does that mean? It means that he is psychotic, psychologically, at his way of expression, that is, psychotic as concerns tendency, psychotic as concerns thinking, emotions, behavior, psychotic as concerns expression, psychotic as concerns physical characteristics, psychotic as concerns body type, psychotic as concerns illnesses that he develops, professions that he chooses, behavior in all fields, family, relations, jobs, and so on. So, let's see how one can speak about Medorrhinum in all fields by just knowing the essence. Let's start with the tendency. As we have already said, his tendency for principles, his general tendency is to enjoy life. Enjoyment. So he doesn't care so much about principles, and if principles forbid him to enjoy life, then he's against principles of any kind, religious principles, political principles, philosophical principles, and he will be revolutionary. He will act against with force and violence if they try to control him. His beloved saying is, whenever they forbid him something or restrict him, is "fuck you." Sorry for talking like that in a scientific lecture, but I believe that the scientific language is the language that expresses best what you want to say, reality. So, when I have talked about the psoric constitution of Natrum muriaticum, I try to use the psoric language. Now that I talk about a psychotic constitution and mainly Medorrhinum, I have to talk with his language in order for you to get the picture, the real picture that you usually find in everyday life. So his favorite saying when they forbid him is "fuck you, get off my back." leave me alone. But not leave me alone because I want to stay alone, but get off my back. Don't bother me. Don't bust my balls. Let me enjoy life. You will hear this from a child towards his parents. You will hear this from a husband towards his wife. You will hear this from an employee to his boss. You will hear this from a student towards his professors. Get off my back. So, enjoyment is his tendency, which is a clearly psychotic characteristic. As I've said before, he is not immoral, but he doesn't bother about principles, moral principles. His morality is to enjoy life. That doesn't mean that he's against ideologies, against principles. He doesn't bother about it. He's not against it, he's not for it, he doesn't care about it. These are for intellectual people, people that, according to his opinion, people that are sophisticated, people that have a certain kind of misery, that do not grasp life from the neck and enjoy it. Things are simple for Medorrhinum. He's not intellectual, the intellectual type, he's more the physical type. One could say, if we take this to extremes, that he's Neanderthal type, the primitive type, the type that has much more connection with his body and the physical urges like sexuality, eating, dancing, climbing, doing things, than the intellectual type that has the book and reads about it or gets into the internet and is lost there. Psoric types think, psychotic types do. So, then we have the emotions, the thinking, as we have analyzed it before. He is not much of a thinker. He has superficial thinking, changeable thinking, fast thinking, not his field. Then we have emotions. Emotions, as we have already said, are superficial, changeable, intense, and then we have behavior. Again, we have the not well organized and superficial behavior, the changeable behavior, and the straight behavior. If he wants to say something, he will say it. If he is angry, he will express his anger right away and intensely, and then his anger will subside. He is like a gale. Shouts, cries out, may break something, and then he is okay and says, okay, let's go and drink something now. Things are over. And then we go at the physical level. His body, we leave it later because hierarchically we have to talk first about his psychological characteristics. So, let's start talking about other fields of his other fields of psychological characteristics. Let's talk about his irritability. Irritable and irascible. What things make him angry? If your characteristic, if your essence is psychotic and your main interest is enjoyment, anything that forbids you or inhibits you or spoils your enjoyment, your having fun, makes you angry. If his wife is talking too much and doesn't let him watch the football at the TV, on the TV, then he gets angry and says, "Shut up, will you? Let me enjoy the game. I've been busting my balls in the job for 8 hours and now I come home and you don't let me, bring me the food to eat. Let me watch TV and close the door." He calls his friends or his boys, his male children, and they want to watch the TV, order pizza, drink beers, and watch the game of football or Formula One. If his wife is romantic and sensitive and he has the urge to do sex, to get laid, that's the correct phrase for a psychotic person, to get laid. He doesn't make love like episodic, romantically. He gets laid. He has sex. If his companion, his female companion, wants to talk before sex, to have romantic dinner before sex in order to go to bed, to talk about their love, this makes him angry. He is a psychotic type. He has strong, intense urges. He wants a quick relief, and then he wants to go to see the TV or to go with his friends at the game or at the tavern or anywhere else. And he is not much of a talker when in sex. So these things makes him angry. If he has some diseases and his wife or the doctor tells him, "You've got high cholesterol, you've got hypertension, you should take care of your food and your drinking, you should stop smoking, you should not do drugs," and so on, then he will say to the doctor, "I'd rather die 10 years earlier than not to enjoy my life. Healthy food, no salt, no pepper, no drink. What kind of life is this? I'd rather die." I want to live my life. I don't want to spend my life in worrying about things or not enjoying life. I want sex, I want food, I want dancing, I want extreme sports, I want adrenaline. The psychotic type, and especially Medorrhinum, is the adrenaline type, the extreme type. He wants to full enter intense things. Or he gets bored. Take him to a sophisticated lecture about civilization, history, and philosophy and science. He will have a very nice nap and won't care about others, what they say about him. Take him to a European film, a sophisticated film. He will leave as soon as he can and go to the pub or to the club or to extreme sports, to the gym, and do exercise. He will go to watch the boxing game. He'll go to the horse racing, to the dog racing, and so on. He will go to the striptease club. He will go to the whores, to the prostitutes. So anything that spoils his fun, anything that inhibits him from getting joy from life, anything that is complicated and sophisticated, makes him angry. Another thing that makes him angry is if they, Medorrhinum, being physically young, strong, enduring, and manly, if he is a male. We have also women Medorrhinum. Mostly we have men Medorrhinum, but we have also female Medorrhinum individuals. If he is a man, he is the dude. He is the guy. He is the womanizer. He is the tough guy. He is the heartbreaker. He is the white boy. He is the strong guy, the manly guy. He is proud of his strong body, of his ability in physical abilities. He can drink very much without getting drunk, and he doesn't care if he gets drunk. He can eat a lot and doesn't care about cholesterol. He can stay awake at night enjoying until early in the morning. He can work a lot, physically, mostly physically, without getting tired easily. He can dance a lot. He can have sex a lot. He is a sex machine. He is a rooster. He is a Neanderthal. He is the animal type with the animal urges, the animal strength. He likes extreme sports, he likes hunting, he likes fishing, he likes sea sports, or especially extreme sea sports. He likes fighting. anything that gives him joy and proves that he is the man. He is the guy, the tough guy. He can easily get in a gang to prove his strength and that he is a smart guy. And in women, he is a smooth operator in order to get laid. So, if he believes that he is this tough guy, anybody who offends his toughness, his manly state, his heartbreaker state, anything that offends this Neanderthal image makes him angry. And then he expresses his anger intensely, not usually violently or self-destructive. This is the syphilitic case. If he gets angry, he will express his anger no matter what, to his boss, to his wife, to his children, to the priest, to the teacher, to the president of the republic, to the rich ones, to anyone. He doesn't care if he gets fired. He has his honor, his tough guy honor. He is the dude. So he doesn't care. That's his motto. I don't give a dime about it. I don't care. You see, he's not so flexible in these things. He's straightforward. He expresses his anger intensely, and his anger goes off very quickly and easily. He is like a gale. Suddenly, out of nothing to the others, he gets angry, he expresses his anger straightforward and intensely, and in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, he says to the one that offended him or made him angry, to his wife, to his children, to his close friends, let's forget about it. Let's go and have fun. He has a fight with his wife, his sensitive wife, and after he has expressed his anger, after 5 minutes, he comes to her and says, "Shall we go to bed now? Let me take your balls out, your eyeballs out with sex. Let's have fun." And the woman gets angry and they fight again and says, "Oh, leave me alone. I'll go to the prostitutes and pay and get laid without you busting my balls. Or I'll go to my friends and watch the game." And he's not ground